Okay, so let's unpack this. We're diving into what sounds like, well, the ultimate DIY project, really revising the contents of your own consciousness.
Exactly. To achieve what the source calls true intellectual freedom.
And the core question here seems to be, why even bother with this kind of self-revision? Like, what changes are actually impossible without it?
Well, what's fascinating is the answer presented in the dialogue. It suggests that without this deep revision, you're basically stuck, perpetually playing this game of believe or don't believe whatever authorities tell you.
Ah, right. So you can't reach that intellectual freedom unless you actually know what you think, what you experience,
Right.
when you use fundamental concepts like I or self or even self-something.
Precisely. And the dialogue points out something critical here,
Uh-huh.
that the words themselves, like I or self, they make logical sense to people. We use them all the time. But the corresponding experience, that internal picture associated with the word, often it's just missing.
And that missing picture, that's the very thing that needs the revision work.
That's the core of it, yes. Because if that experiential picture isn't there, you're just running on, borrowed definitions, hand-me-down concepts.
Okay, that clarifies the mission. We're not just shuffling words, we're trying to generate the actual experience behind them. But the source also asks, why is this so incredibly hard?
Yeah, it contrasts it, doesn't it? It says trying to revise everyday, stable concepts like the idea of a table or maybe subordination in an office, it's almost impossible and probably pointless anyway. They're stable for a reason.
Right, you don't get much benefit trying to redefine table.
Exactly. So the focus has to be on what the dialogue calls the very top of the pyramid of existential concepts, things that aren't really nailed down by social conditioning.
Like I, space, time, being, those big ones.
Those are the ones. They're unstable precisely because they lie outside the usual learned definitions. They demand your personal input, your signature, so to speak.
Which brings us to this really interesting paradox the dialogue throws up. The common assumption is that tackling these huge existential topics requires, well, tons of knowledge, right? You need to read all the philosophers, all the science.
That's the traditional view. But the author here argues almost the exact opposite. That knowledge, or maybe it's better framed as prejudices learned from others, from authority, that this is actually the barrier in this specific kind of inquiry.
Okay, hold on. How does that work? Knowledge being a barrier.
Well, the explanation given is about mental efficiency. The mind is fundamentally lazy in a way. It wants to save energy.
Like a computer optimizing processes.
Exactly. So if you already have an authoritative opinion stored away about, say, the nature of self, maybe something you read or were told, the mind just ticks the solved box, it won't expend the energy to inquire further for itself.
So it's not necessarily laziness in a moral sense, but an efficiency drive misapplied here.
Precisely. If the goal is to find out what you genuinely think or experience, then any pre-existing knowledge from others acts like baggage. It stops you generating your own direct understanding.
Which leads to that slightly shocking statement. The less you know, the more you have chances for success in this specific self-inquiry.
Wow. It's provocative, isn't it? But it makes sense in this context of bypassing preloaded answers.
So if loading up on knowledge is actually counterproductive here, how do we approach this? How do we reset things and get past that energy-saving, lazy mind?
The dialogue suggests a psychological approach. Sometimes it's called the fool's path. The key is adopting what it terms the state of the asked question.
The state of the asked question, what does that mean practically?
It means consciously moving away from what the source calls trust sleep. That default mode where we just accept definitions and assumptions without really questioning them.
Right, the sleep of just trusting what you're told.
Into a state of active personal inquiry. It's about deliberately spending energy where the mind usually conserves it, forcing it to look again.
And the example given for this is, well, it's almost absurdly simple. The cup exercise.
Yeah, the kitchen cup. It's powerful, though. Take a completely ordinary object, like a cup. Spend half an hour every single day just looking at it.
Doing what? Just staring.
Not just staring, but actively asking, what am I not noticing in this familiar object? Or what do I not yet understand about this object? Consistently asking.
You're basically forcing your mind to re-engage with something it dismissed as known or solved ages ago.
Exactly. You're challenging the dismissal. And the claim is, after a few months of this sustained questioning focus, you could probably write a 10-page essay on modern kitchen cups. Not because cups are inherently that complex.
But because you've broken the habit of just accepting the surface level, of outsourcing your observation.
Precisely. You've woken up your own capacity to see.
But crucially, the text stresses This isn't just a casual technique. It requires real psychological resolve, a kind of fierce determination.
Absolutely. The core conviction you need, according to the dialogue, has to be something like, I genuinely want to understand what I don't yet understand or notice here. And nobody else, no book, no expert, no one in the universe can actually give me this understanding. Only I myself can discover what I'm looking for.
Wow, that's quite a stance to take. No external saviors allowed.
That commitment, that internal resolve seems to be the absolute key. It's the psychological engine for this kind of self-discovery. If you link it back to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the whole exercise, the cup, the questioning, it's fundamentally a challenge, a demand to stop outsourcing your thinking on the most basic levels, and finally, sign your own name to your understanding of yourself and the world.
So wrapping this up for everyone listening, what does this really mean for you? If genuine success in this kind of deep existential self-discovery comes not from piling up more knowledge, but maybe from shedding prejudice, what are you right now unknowingly carrying that stopped you from even starting down your own fool's path?
That's the question to sit with.
Something to really think about. And remember, you can listen to this deep dive as a podcast or check out our other discussions over on the channel page.